Okay. Good morning. This is November 20th, 2021, and I wanted to talk a little bit about locations. Here we are talking, cybersecurity vacancies, cybersecurity employment, getting yourself in at the entry level, and I think that many people may consider themselves to be extremely limited in what they've got in the way of opportunities, vacancies, etc. And in their mind, they may be thinking it's me versus a million other people who are more qualified than me. And with that mindset, it may stop you from even clicking the apply button. So I'm trying to help get us past that by thinking outside of the box, thinking about other things, applying some flexibility to your thoughts so that maybe something will work in your favor. So that's why I wanted to talk about locations today. Chris, you were talking a little bit about your particular geographic area. Did you sort of want to share about that?
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in my geographic area, in my research, I have a unique situation. And my unique situation is my wife and I are going for a house. We're going through the mortgage process. We already been pre-approved for the house we're looking for, or for houses we're looking for. We're now starting to become pre-approved buyers, which is much more nicer than, let's say, just pre-approved. We also become competitive with the cash offers that are coming out in the housing market.
Right.
So my wife and I, when I initially did it before my wife and I had the house, my job search, I had to expand nationwide and say, hey, I'm open to looking at different locations. But now that I've talked to my wife about it, her job's in Baltimore, Maryland, and mine's is in D.C., and pretty much we decided to talk and say, hey, if I want to go for a promotion, can I go elsewhere? And my wife gently reminded me that we are going for a house and suggested that we stay in the Baltimore-Washington region and keep that net there. Mm-hmm. I did some market research further and found out that that's probably the wisest move on my part. It may not be a wise move for the rest of you, though, because in the end, nationwide, it's all going to be a need. And there's going to be a website I'm going to share because I'm glad I didn't share it now, but now I'm going to share it. It's called CyberSecurity. They have a heat map of where what jobs are located and who's asking for what, when, where, and the numbers behind it. Mm-hmm. And that's the research I did with finding that market, and I agreed with my wife to go ahead and stay with the Baltimore, Washington area. But that may not be wise for the rest of you who are searching for a job, and this is part of our discussion today.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people, unless you live in that particular area, you may not understand some of the geographic, peculiarities to that particular area. Some locations may look very close to each other on the map, and yet there's a mountain between them. Or other locations may look like it's a long distance, but they happen to be, let's say twin type hiring areas, so they've got a great interstate between the two, or, those sorts of things. You just don't know unless you're literally drilling down and looking at the various locations and considering all possible opportunities. That was the main focus that I wanted to do today, was to help understand more about opportunities and the logistics that occur about them. So that's why I wanted to do that. Thanks for sharing about that, Chris. So let's zip over here on locations, and I will talk a little bit for a little while, and then we can share. Now, I'm talking about federal employment here, and the main reason I'm talking about that is the primary role of CS-Sensei is to help people land entry-level jobs in the federal government. Why? Because I'm in the federal government and I want to try and help hire my prospective work partners. people who are going to work with me. I want to make sure there is a large enough pool of applicants so the higher qualifications are reached. And so, that's the main thing I'm talking about here. However, it really applies across the board. You could, for example, what is the headquarters for Walmart? Do you remember? Do you guys remember? Walmart's headquarters is in where?
Bentonville, Arkansas.
Bentonville, Arkansas. It's sort of like, huh? But that could be a major, an absolutely massive employer in that area, and you may not have thought about it unless you're in that area. And then, of course, everybody and your cousins all work for Walmart or something like that. So recognize that there are peculiarities that may work to your advantage. So I'm talking about federal service, but it could translate into commercial job vacancies as well. So we're talking nationwide, perhaps worldwide, and then maybe what we call transitionary. And we'll cover that a little bit, but some people may be available to move to other locations. Some people may be looking to move. Let me give you an example with myself. I was in the Washington, D.C. metro area working, and my sister and my mother both had medical issues here in the Tucson area, Tucson, Arizona. So I felt compelled to try and get down here and help out with the family, finances and health care and those sorts of things in the middle of being in Washington, D.C. So at that time, it would have definitely been looking for vacancies in the Tucson area for someone with my qualifications, even though I'm working in Washington, D.C. So you have to realize that you may think of it as being a downside, a negative. Gee, I'm going to have to go from the Washington, D.C. metro area to the Tucson metro area hiring. But there may be other people out there who are doing the exact same thing from an employer perspective, and they're basically saying, oh, there's no qualified folks in Tucson. And guess what? You arrive. So be thinking about that. This is all a game about opportunities, about being in the right place at the right time with the right knowledge and making that application so that they can at least consider you. All right? Any questions on that so far? Any comments? Good morning, Farsane.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Just had a little bit of issues with my computers. I told Chris last week that one of my computers has been hacked.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I've been writing Google to fix it because it was, my Gmail account, my email account. However, it affected everything else too.
Mm-hmm.
So that system is, but thankfully it is only one of my systems. So what they have hacked is the email on my tablet, but I have other devices, obviously. So I'm getting help from them too. Yeah, so good to see you. You look so good with your beard, and also I'm happy with your standing station for the computer. And I always read about all of your activities. Happy to see Christopher. Happy to see Douglas. And I hope everybody has a great Saturday morning here. And we're so close to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Hey, Scotty, a technical thing. I'm not seeing your slides for some odd reason.
Really?
Yeah.
Doug, are you seeing it?
Yes, I can.
I wonder if it's it probably is my slide. Go ahead, just continue. I'll figure it out.
Is it just one? Because it is only one slide.
Correct. At the moment, I have one blue slide up, dark blue slide.
Yes. It says U.S. Federal Services Employment.
That's it.
Then there are 3 dots, nationwide, worldwide, And then I think other one I have to transparency. I don't know. Let me get up.
Transitionary.
I need my glasses. I need my glasses, Scotty, because it's all transitionary. Yep.
Yeah.
It is only one. Yeah, Chris.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, in reference to federal service, let's. I tried to put together a bit of a graphic. I call it location math. And if you're looking for a position, in a big major metropolitan area, there are lots of other people that are looking at that same position and competing, applying for, competing, and therefore their resumes are being considered side by side with yours. That is an area where you've got to work really hard to get yourself hired into that area. But then when you go to smaller and smaller areas, or areas with more and more specific requirements that tend to, I would say, weed out the general populace, you're going to get down to an area, let's say a location, where there are going to be only one or a few applicants, and that could be you. So that's what I'm trying to refer to when I say location math. The farther you get away from a metropolitan area, the better it may work for you. All right? So don't think that because you're in, Pisgah, Kentucky, that you're not going to get hired. That may not be the case. You may be able to parlay it into employment. And I'm going to give you some examples here. Beckley, West Virginia. Chris, I'm sure, Doug, you may even know this. Beckley, West Virginia. It's like, what? Beckley, West Virginia. Look at this little tiny town. Well, at least they got, cars that have internal combustion engines. But, a lot of people say, well, what does Beckley have to do with hiring? Well, let's take a look at it. In Beckley, West Virginia, there are two rather large groups that require technological support and research and people. One is called the National Mine Health and Safety Academy. The other is the Academy of Careers and Technology. Now, the ACT is actually an extension from West Virginia University. They call it the Academy, but it's basically a skills development center for people in that particular area. In other words, the West Virginia government recognizes that they've got to try and help increase the skill set of people in that area because it is so distant from everything else. But look at this National Mine Health and Safety Academy. Let me tell you a little bit about the Academy. It is where every mine owner in America, and in some cases mine owners in other countries, bring their employees and their management in order to conduct mine safety training, which is required by federal law. So, you may say, what's the big deal there? Well, Chris, you may know this. Doug, you may know this, but can anybody guess how many mines are in America? Mines. In other words, commercial mines, corporate mines. Any ideas? How many mines are in America? Wild guess.
What is the mine that explodes? Are you talking about that mine? No.
Mine as in gold, silver, oil, petroleum, natural gas, aluminum, copper.
Okay, minerals. Okay, I got it now. In a way.
Could be metal, non-metal, oil and gas. How many mines do you think are in America?
Billions.
Well, I mean, everyone is usually a commercial entity, so there's a company that's out there behind, whatever. It could be a warehouser or whatever. But a lot of people don't recognize the industries in America that go together to make America strong. There are over 2,100 mines in America. And for example, a lot of people don't know this, but every mine has to be inspected by the federal government in order to stay in business. Underground mines have to be inspected, I think it's 2 times or 4 times a year, and above ground mines have to be inspected 2 times a year. I think that's the numbers. So 2,100 mines inspected 2 or 4 times a year, that's a whole lot of inspections. And they all have to be done by the federal government. So the U.S. Department of Labor has something like 1,300 mine inspectors that are out driving around making sure that every mine is safe and certified so that the workers feel safe going a mile underground so that they can mine copper or whatever. So the Mine Safety Academy is where they learn about best practices, where they learn about making sure they're safe, where they learn about ventilation, where they learn about emergency response. All of those things are necessary to run a mine in America. So there's this academy that the federal government put together because they're the ones that said you have to do certain things, and companies send their people there year-round to get their mine training. So it's a federal location, lots of people moving in and out of it, so guess what's needed? IT. And the National Mine Health and Safety Academy, you don't know about it unless you're there. But guess what? Let me talk about Alex, my buddy Alex, because I was the Enterprise Service Desk Manager for the federal government that was located there in Beckley, West Virginia. And I needed an IT support person. 16,000 people. What are the chances that I'm going to find a really good IT support person? Well, you know, we tried a few times. We even went over to that Academy for technology, or careers in technology, and called recruiters there and said, do you have people there that might be qualified for this vacancy? Because who's going to apply in Beckley, West Virginia? Well, I'll tell you, it was Alex. Alex arrived with a host of skills, absolutely slayed his interview. He walked in the door, and by the time I was done talking, well, figuratively speaking, I didn't go to Beckley. We did this over the phone. But he entered his interview, and by the time he finished, I said, the vacancy's closed. You're hired if you want this job. And so he said, well, I do, but I want to make sure that, there's some accommodations made for this, and the salary, needs to be this or whatever. And I'm like, okay. Why? Because it was just Alex, and I had to hire somebody. So Alex turned the disadvantage of being in some remote area into an advantage where he could specify things like a raise in pay before I get hired. Okay? So think about geography when you are considering looking for positions, cybersecurity positions. In this case, it was IT support, but Alex also had systems administration background. So we could use him for our cybersecurity event response. He was actually an event response member, which is cybersecurity. So be thinking about this. Less populated areas don't necessarily mean you're not going to get hired. Less desirable locations. In other words, somewhere out in the middle of, I don't know, Canada, you're like, maybe I don't want to go somewhere where, there's more snow than there are people in height. Well, maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Think about military locations or hazardous duty. Temporary positions such as FEMA. FEMA requires a lot of temporary positions, and they hire in anticipation of some sort of emergency that occurs, usually weather-related, some weather disaster, and FEMA has to scramble people, from all around the nation to fly to that area and set up shop. Also, when we talk about worldwide, U.S. federal government worldwide, who do you think of? If you're going to get hired worldwide with the federal government, who are you going to work for?
State Department?
Military. Oh.
Well, military is a good one too, but State Department.
FEMA.
Why? Well, yeah, FEMA. Well, FEMA doesn't do things worldwide. They do things nationwide. FEMA is restricted to the U.S., I believe, and U.S. territories. It is a rare occasion where FEMA will send people like to Venezuela or something like that, and those are when it has been requested by that country because of a specific emergency. So they will send a very specific emergency response team.
I think they just sent some people to Haiti and some other country around that
Right.
they have had, I think, some kind of issues.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's because the Haitian government asked for help.
Sure.
Yeah. So just be aware that some of the things you may think of as disadvantages may actually be advantages and work in your favor. State Department, where is there a U.S. State Department or an embassy or a consulate location? Every country.
Right.
Except North Korea. So maybe you need to go to Liechtenstein for some reason, and guess what? They have IT in Liechtenstein employed by the federal government.
Wait, excuse me, just I'm opening the parentheses. State Department sent a notice, they have some kind of bulletin that says don't go to Liechtenstein because the COVID is so bad over there.
Yeah.
And don't go to Switzerland and a couple of others. Yeah, they sent it to me. The other thing, before I forget, the agency, it's a part of Department of Defense that I'm a member. It is NLSC, National Language National Language Corps Services.
Okay.
It is a part of the DOD, and it's a branch. So they also go all over the world, and also in this COVID issue, they are needed, just this way, computer, whatever. Again, for everybody and everything, and millions.
Right.
I can't say millions, but God, there are some specific languages all over that you all won't believe it. That they would say, we need somebody to know such and such a language from the African tribe of such.
Yes. You've got to know Farsi, or you've got to know Uru, or
No, I know Farsi, Persian Farsi, and Dari.
Yeah.
Because they are, and also same thing that goes to, I think, Turkmenistan, because they all speak Farsi, just their accent is different.
Right.
So, I can work for all of them. I can help all of them. And I told them right now we have like 84,000 in this state of Afghan people, Afghan refugees. And they needed interpreters for them, and I told them that I'm going to be a volunteer.
Nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, my heart goes out, of course.
Sure. And that's something else. A lot of people, let's think about that. And I love the fact that you brought that up, Farsane. A lot of people may say, I want a job. They're offering a job. We negotiate, and then I get hired, and I work 40 hours a week, and I go home, and I'm all done. I draw a paycheck. And for many people, that's all they want. But like Farsane was mentioning, what about if there's a specific need? Or, good morning, Harminder. What if there's a specific need, or let's say you have a desire to be helpful in a particular area. You want to feel valuable in that area. You know that you can be more than the job says. Or you're a very generous person and you want to go help because they can't find somebody who will help. Be thinking about that. It's here in America, we're sort of lulled into this understanding that there's X number of vacancies and there's X plus one number of people, and I just don't want to be that plus one. But it's not the case. When you go out into the job market, you start finding things that you never knew existed. And some of them can be extremely rewarding. So just take that into account when you're part of the job seekers here. Okay? So I jumped out onto USA Jobs this morning and said, GS 2210, show me worldwide vacancies. And I just pulled up some of these. Some of them are, Springfield, Illinois. That's not a small place, but it is very specific. How about Dulce, New Mexico? What are the chances that you will be in Dulce and looking for a job? By the way, that job is with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, I believe. So it's on a reservation. Same thing with White Earth, Minnesota. Same thing with Fort Duquesne, Utah. Those are all working on Indian reservations. Federal government provides IT for Indian reservations. You may end up sitting right next to a place that is screaming for a vacancy, that's screaming for somebody, and you can slip in with your entry-level skills because they don't have anyone else to choose from, and you can impress them by saying, I can grow real fast once I get there.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
Springfield, Illinois, what's that one?
I don't know.
And just back a couple slides, and I'm sorry to kind of pause you and go back a couple slides. Your vacancy that was saying you had no applicants. Was that no qualified applicants or just zero applicants, period?
No, you are correct. I had applicants, but it's like, hi, I've been a clerk at, Joe Bob's supermarket, and I want to do IT. Next. Yes, there were applicants, but none of them met what I considered to be criteria for, and here's another thing you got to think about. If the area is small, your team will be small as well to match that, or you'll be by yourself. You love working for, yourself? These are the sort of things that might work well for you because you're going to have to be the jack of all trades. They need systems admin, you're going to do systems admin. They need cybersecurity event response. Guess what? Incident response will be your part of what you learn. So yeah, you're right, Chris. There were applicants, but they weren't applicants that I was even going to consider.
Something to think about with these smaller agencies, and I've done a networking event through my Reskilling Academy of actually shaking hands with CIOs and CISOs, and the smaller agency CISOs and CIOs were very clear to me that if I did hire you, you're doing everything, and because you're the IT.
Yep.
And they highly suggested to me, because of my lack of experience with IT at the time, to go talk to the big CIOs and CISOs. They were still interested in talking to me because I had the technical mathematical background.
Yep.
But at the same time, I didn't have the IT background, and they felt that me in a bigger agency would flourish much better, or flourish much more than a small agency where, oh, Chris, you need to fix this. Chris, you need to reset the password. Chris, we had a security incident. Chris.
Yep.
And
and if everybody remembers last week, the recording that I made for everybody dealt with this directly. If your skill set is a bit low, shoot for the big teams. However, don't give up the idea that you could still make it in to a, one deep position out in, the deserts of New Mexico, because that's where you are or where you're moving. So, something to think about. Thank you, Chris. Very, very good. So here's the thing. How do you find and capture such opportunities like this? First of all, recognize that they are out there. And the chances of you just stumbling across them are pretty slim. So in your search criteria in USA Jobs, use very broad criteria. For example, I said GS 2210. Today, there were 583 vacancies. So you got to sort of go through them, sort through them. Try various different search filters. Play around. This is, a lot of people may think that, I can put together the perfect search filter and then just have it feed me whenever I want. Well, when I was looking for my particular position, guess how many searches I had? I had 4 searches going on at any one time, because I was sort of spinning it a little differently. Oh, let me see what's going on overseas, this sort of thing, just so I could get the visibility into what was out there. If you limit your search criteria, you think you've developed the perfect search criteria, look at it again. Every once in a while, go out and say, show me everything, and take a look at what you may have missed. And then maybe not change your search filter, because you can have, what is it? I think it's up to 5 searches or something. So use all 5. You may get garbage out of one of them over and over and over and over and over again until that gold nugget shows up. Watch for that gold nugget. So set your broad search criteria or multiple filters. One is, I'm going to get most of the information. It's going to be applicable most of the time here. However, what about this? However, what about this? Maybe you might be interested in moving to Pomona, California. Look into something in the Pomona, California area or something like that. Set a filter. If any of you are into, fishing, cast that line. See where it goes. See what you get. Now, like I said here, also with your search criteria, make sure that if you do set your search filters, and I highly recommend you have multiples, set them for a frequency of no more than 1 per week. Some of these vacancies show up and they're gone. Why? Because they think they know who they want to hire. And you want to sneak in there and toss your resume in with that group so that you become the unexpected, look at this person. And they're looking at you. Okay? So, yes, Chris?
I have a light bulb idea, and this is not to put the brakes on our presentation. We can do this much later, and I'll take the lead on it. I like to demonstrate how that's done on usajobs.gov to show to everybody, and we can record it and have that available.
Sure. We did that. We did that long ago. But yeah, it's time for us to do it again. Great idea. Unless people are familiar with USA Jobs, it could be very daunting. But that is your number one tool for federal employment. Number one tool. Even people who are in the federal government use USA Jobs. Right, Doug? Right, Chris? So set your search criteria. I like that, Chris. Thank you. Set your search criteria for really frequently. Yes, you may have to sort through a lot of things that, don't exactly fit, don't exactly match. But guess what? You're going to find this one is like, what? They need, whatever, like that one in whatever it was, Hawaii. And oh, by the way, when you look at it, it says, we will pay relocation. Oh, maybe I want to go to Hawaii for the next 10 years, But you won't know unless you're looking for it. And you won't find these unique opportunities unless you set your search criteria broad. Okay? So I said, Beckley, Brunei, or Brentwood, it doesn't matter. If you're looking, it's my thought here is those who know about these vacancies are the ones that end up showing as the only applicants. So you have to get into that know by playing around with your search criteria. Every once in a while, going through the 500 vacancies and saying, are there any tidbits in here that would pass me by through lack of knowledge that I really would have wanted in the first place. So stay flexible, stay interested, keep looking. I'm going to give you an example here. This is from this morning, and that's why, Farsane, you were talking about the military. Here we go. This is a vacancy today with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And they have, in their words, and they said this, many, capital M, capital A, capital N, capital Y, many vacancies. Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, many vacancies. The salary is $66,000 to $86,000 per year. GS-12, you're like, maybe, may work. However, let's look at this. Frequent travel is required, possibly 50% of the time. A 2-year trial period. You have to comply with the Exceptional Family Member Program. That is in reference to people who have family members with special needs. They're not going to send you somewhere where those special needs cannot be met. So that's what that's referring to. You have to get your immunizations to go overseas. In this case, because it's DOD, you're going to have a top secret clearance. Look at this next one. You must perform the requirements of the position in the event of a crisis until relieved by proper authority. In other words,
you go home till dawn.
You can't go home. Let's say, I don't know, the government collapses and you're out there in, who knows where.
Libya.
Guess what? Yeah. You end up having to stay and go to work there, even though the risk of working there has just gone up tremendously. You can't just say, I'm out of here. You may not be able to.
Or the systems go down, for example.
What's that?
Like if the systems go down and they have to be up no matter what, you have to find that bug, you have to have that disconnect, and you can't go home until the job's done.
Well, that's the next one where it talks about it may entail work shifts that last 12 to 16 hours. Lack of sleep may occur. And that's along the lines of what you were saying, Douglas. You can't just say, 4:30, see you guys. If you're working overseas and you're the only one there in that particular, forward operating base or whatever, guess what? You're it. And there's a 3-star general standing there going, when am I getting this back? And that's the wrong time to say, I got a dentist appointment. I got to go. It ain't going to happen. You know, it ain't going to happen. So just something to think about. And then down at the bottom, look at this last one. The incumbent's living conditions range from having all basic amenities, such as including utilities like light, power, water, and refrigeration, to having none of these amenities in a tent in the desert. That's quite possible. But, you know, for some people, that's exciting.
Yes, it is. To me, it is.
Yeah.
I think these jobs are the best in the world because that's when you get the maximum satisfaction.
Right.
Because you do something for a place that nobody can do your job.
Yep.
Because those people need you, because that your embassy needs you, because you're not competing with 100,000 others that they're all, you know, better than you, and they have better muscles, they have better looks, they have better education. These are so gratifying jobs.
Yes.
To me, they are so blinking, you know, just like Christmas lights. I love this kind of things. I just love, and I've been involved in some, but not traveling. It's been mainly different. It's been I have been trained in many national things through, you know, different agencies and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way,
helpful. Yes.
And by the way, so what if I live in a tent? And I'm a woman. Look at me. So what? All of our life been living so. So everything has been the best.
Mm-hmm.
What about if we just stay in the tent and we shower with a bottle of bottle of water, whatever?
Right.
So what? I think that makes life much more interesting than this boring life of ours.
There you go. Yep. So, yeah, you may think of it in terms of there are all sorts of disadvantages, but there may also be, like Farsane was saying, the reward of knowing that you're it. You go home every night with sweat on your brow saying, wow, did I make a difference today? And that's enough to drive you back to work tomorrow. You know, be that person that says, I want to make a difference. Be careful of approaching, well, federal jobs, these types of small vacancy announcement type jobs, hazardous jobs, overseas jobs or whatever. Be careful about approaching them with the mindset of, I'm going to go work in a gas station. Because that mindset could chew you up. You say, you know, I go 40 hours a week and I go home and sit at home and say, oh man, Netflix isn't working. You know, there are people that want more than that in life. Be one of them. Okay? Don't settle in your life. Excel in your life. So the bottom line in this slide, in some cases, based on what we've seen here, you may be able to exploit a vacancy's location and be selected over other, more highly qualified candidates. Why? Because they don't want to be there. Good. Let them stay in their, you know, subsidized apartments or whatever. You go out and do this work. You get yourself going. And it could be very rewarding. It could be, you know, quite surprising. I had a position where it was, you know, in the middle of nowhere, literally the middle of nowhere. And yet, when I went and talked to the personnel folks about it, and this was when I was in the military, when I talked to the personnel folks, they said there's a waiting list, 3 years long to get in there. And I'm like, why? Well, I parlayed various things and ended up getting down there. And once I got down there, I extended. I said, this is beautiful. This is wonderful. I love being here. Yes, Chris.
The other end of the spectrum should be thought of as well. If you're single, and you're willing to do this, I'm going to shoot. Or I'm just going to shut everybody up. So just go play on your phone or something. But you need to talk. If you have a family member, you're married, you have a child, you have responsibilities that there. In my honest opinion, and this is truly my honest opinion, those should come first. Yes, I would desire to go out to some place I'm strange at, but I know I'm not going to drag my wife, Marcia, to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for a job.
Right.
Have that conversation with your family. Make sure they're aware of what you're doing. I would like to call it the Colin Powell line. They asked Colin Powell one day, why don't you run for president? And his line, he said, was, I think I would make a great president, but I don't want to put my family through it.
Yep.
So please keep that in mind when the other end of the spectrum is, these sound wonderful. These are like really awesome jobs, and boy, that would be fun. But am I willing to drag my family through that?
Right. You have to have those considerations. Absolutely. Yep. So anyway, like I said. I'm sorry. Rossane.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say some jobs, I don't know, these that you were reading about, they had 2 years of probation. Some others, they have lesser. All jobs, they have probation between 6 months to 1 year or maybe 2 years or whatever. However, some of the jobs that in my older days I was applying, at the time they were offering $120,000 to $160,000 to $180,000 plus $30,000 bonus just for taking the job.
Yep.
Maybe it would be given after you pass your probation, but of course, Chris is right about family and kids and everything. But I'm older than possibly Douglas and Chris. Therefore, I don't have a small kid. My son is grown. And I have worked for 26 years within a system. I mean, it was state, but also federal, that it was so boring. Now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, and you had always competition. And although I always grew and grew and grew and went better. But at this point, with this wisdom that I have today, I adore that or those people who have that stomach to take these jobs. It's not only for money. You all know that never the money that they pay us is equal to what we put in. We do it much more for better, higher rewards, and that's within us. And all of us, we know it. And people, Scotty can kind of second me on this. If you get a worker who is totally qualified, but his heart or her heart is not there and just comes, does the job and goes, it's very different than a person whose soul and his heart and his mind is there and believes in that job and works it to his or her bones and believes in it and does his and her best. That worker is a gold, is a gem.
Yep.
That is somebody who's gonna save you and is gonna make you shine always.
Fully agree. I remember, I don't even remember her name, but when I was in the Pentagon a number of years ago, there was one of the folks that I worked with, and this woman reflected, literally it was like coming out of her pores, excellence. She would walk into a room and make sure that the room was better before she left. She would sit down and like make phone calls, and you're thinking, oh, okay, making phone calls, but she would be like light speed deliberate. Pa, 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 pa. Yeah, here I'm I'm on my way over there. Okay, great, fine. Giving you some feedback on this, and she was just driven. every single moment of every hour I watched her, and I said, this person's going to own a business or be somebody's vice president real soon. You know, that's what you want to impress people with. You don't want to say, I'm really good with firewalls, you know. That internal impetus, the thing that drives you, make sure that comes out when you're in your resume, in your interview, and in your daily activities. Well, let's look here. Why am I here? I don't get paid for this.
Right.
I got to get up early in the morning. I got to prepare slides. I got to do research. Why?
I tell you why.
Okay.
Because you believe in it, number one. Number two, you have principles in your line of duty, regardless of that you are retired now. You have principles in that mission. And again, you believe in it, and you feel it is your duty to give back to society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Harminder.
Yeah. So why you are here? Because you have a passion, you have a experience, and what knowledge you have, you like to share with the other people, and you have a positivity, and you want to be other people also successful in life in this world. It is a very few people help other people. Why? Because this is the mostly nature of the human being. Everybody work by himself. Nobody take care of the other people. If we help each other, then we have a good society, and we can grow fast, and we can learn from the experienced people. Such kind of, I'm taking my example how I'm struggling. I have two non-technical jobs, and I have very less to apply for a job. When I attend such kind of event, then it gives me a motivation, and it also realize me what I have to do. Do I'm going in the right direction, and what path I have to follow to get a job, to successful in the interview, to successful in the job, and do a right job. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you both for sharing that. The way I kind of characterize it is I've got a wealth of experience and knowledge, and I feel guilty if I don't share it. I really do.
Agree.
Yeah.
Thank you. We are lucky we have you. Thank you. And thanks for the Chris he told me about. Thank you.
It's a joy to do this. It's a joy to be of service. So that's all I had for this morning. Does anybody have any final words before we finish up?
I do.
Yes.
I want to praise you. I want to glorify you. And I want to thank you for what you're doing. No pay, no upgrade. All of the facilitation is provided by yourself. And you just want to give. Giving has such a pleasure and gratification that is never equal to receiving. Giving, especially if it's from heart, in your case, that you're doing it every Saturday and you're running around all the time, is so remarkable and so rewarding. And we are also enjoying the reward of it. So I wanted to commend you. I wanted to thank you. And I wanted you to know how valuable you are to society, because we don't have so many people like you. People, they just finish a job and they get paid and goodbye, you know. That's like 98% of people, and maybe rightfully so. Maybe rightfully so. So they say, I've done my job, you know, I've paid the price. I want to ask one nosy question.
Okay.
Hermender, where are you from?
So first of all, thank you very much to giving your views. It is very valuable. So I am from India.
India, hello. I am from originally. I've been almost raised almost in U.S. I'm from Iran.
Iran.
Yes, so you can you can share this locality passion. And also, I have so much in common with Douglas because we're both originally foreigners.
Yes.
And even Scotty is a foreigner because if he was born here, maybe his parents or his grandparents came from somewhere else.
That's right.
And Christopher the same, all of us. And that makes us so, I don't know, I can't remember the word. We are all linked together. We are all linked together. That's all, and I thank you for letting me just
to use the modern day learning term that they use is a cohort. We are a cohort. Yeah, we're all working together toward the same thing, though we come from various backgrounds. They use the phrase cohort. Yeah.
What a beautiful word.
I don't know if I ever told you thank you for this group. And you see that I've invited 2 people that turned out to become frequent members of the group, and that's both Doug and Harminder. And I've always suggested to anybody who comes to me in cybersecurity, hey, what's your 9 a.m. on Saturday look like? And those 2 were the ones who say, you know what, if I really want it, I'll be here. And your seeding of this group, and was one of those second person that kind of bought into it.
Yep.
Is that what Farsane said is a big time testimony, and I have trouble with words sometimes. Thank you, Farsane. You took the words that I want to say, and I want to make sure, Scotty, I don't think I ever did tell you thank you for this group.
You're all very welcome. You're all very welcome.
I also say, I joined the train because it's something that I probably never told you, and if I did, it was, not deeply enough, but it's a very, very, it's invaluable. It's totally, sometimes I've asked myself, where you get the energy and, to come here, and sometimes there's only one person, and so it shows a lot of commitment. It shows passion, and it's also related to your part of that. I think it's related to the love for your brothers. We're all brothers under the same father. And it's just the only way I can think of. But I do really appreciate, deeply, all that you're doing for us. And one of the reasons why I show up is because one, I want the knowledge. I do want to make that impact, and so I'm here to learn. But I'm also saying thank you every time I show up, because it's part of my paying respect for everything you're doing. So yeah, it's part of my schedule every Saturday, and I'm really appreciative. I have no words not enough to tell you how much I thank you, really, how much I admire you, how much of a role model you are to me.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all. If you really enjoy this, and it sounds like you do, please, the best thing you can do is to spread the word. Like Chris and I have said, we would love to expand this out to where we have multiple levels of mentors, multiple sessions throughout the week, but we can only do that when there are enough interested people to help what I call, help keep this going. Critical mass is the word, to where this becomes a self-sustaining energy, if you will. So, pass the word on.
Yeah.
And you help us all.
Absolutely. I have just 2 quick things. Number one.
Thanks, Chris. Yes, Farsane.
Hi, Chris.
Number one, that because we are linked together, we build a chain, a very strong chain around our nation and around our. So being linked together through Sensei, for example, through our work, through our passion, through our belief system, principles, it caught these links. They turn into a chain that is so powerful. It's not visible. It's not visible. And the other thing, when you talked about employment of younger people and so on, unfortunately, people are living in some type of amnesia of, I don't know how to call it, corona amnesia, corona depression, corona. So, God's willing, as soon as we get a tad better, worldwide, and it would affect us too, then maybe our people, they want to work. I personally know people that they can work, they're young, they're energetic, they have all the skills, they can't. Not that they don't want to, not that they have means, they don't, they can't. They've been so depressed.
Yeah. Yep.
They've been indoors for a long time, so that's all. And I thank you again for everything that you bring here, especially you give us a sense of belief system, a sense of principles, because money is not everything, job is not everything. There are higher and better purposes in this life.
Yep. Very, very good. Thank you. Okay. All right. Enough of this. I appreciate you all. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Doug.
I had a question. I don't know if it's, I know we're slightly over the time, but I wanted to ask you, recently, someone told me an experience that, how most systems nowadays, most companies are providing this because a lot of incidents happen because people click on things and they buy, what they see phishing emails, and they're so believable. And so someone was telling me they had an experience recently where they had this caution on top of the emails. Be careful, this is an external thing. And I was wondering, they told me that they had, they received a couple of emails that were actually like, they were using the company names from people they knew, and they didn't have that there. And I was wondering, does that mean that they were probably, that they were compromised?
Phishing?
Or
Phishing.
No, that was phishing, definitely. The way she explained it to me was phishing.
Right.
Because of the content of the email. But I was wondering, I was just like, wow, so what happened here? Maybe...
We'll bring this up at some point in the future and use it as a topic. But if you're looking in your Security Plus study guide, the word that comes up most frequently is called spoofing. Spoofing, and that is where someone acts as if they're someone else, or a particular, coming from, whatever, and it doesn't really come from that group or whatever. It's called spoofing. So if you have a chance, take a look at that, and maybe we'll bring that up as a topic in the next week or two. But yeah, that is exactly, I think I understand what you're talking about, Doug. That is exactly what happened this week at our agency. So just so you know, that's exactly what happened. So, but we don't have time. We can't cover it. Look up spoofing.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thanks, everybody, and have a wonderful weekend and a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, and wishing you a happy holiday and enjoy the weekends too. It is cold, I know. Thank you.
Yeah, you too.
In America, they say Happy Turkey Day.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye.